Back in Neo Revelation, we got this Kingdra here with genetic memory. For one colorless energy, you could use the attack of any Seadra or Horsea underneath this Kingdra without paying its energy cost. This would utilize Seadra's Mud Splash attack to consistently deal 30 damage and 10 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to spread damage around until you were either able to build up to a larger Twister attack, or just start KOing Pokemon by dealing the same amount of consistent damage over and over again. For context, this Kingdra was in a format with a lot of energy removal in it, so dealing consistent damage for one energy was big. I do have a full deck list on this Revelation Kingdra if you want to go check that out. The reason I bring it up is because genetic memory is back. With EX Dragon, we got Kingdra EX. This time around, Kingdra comes equipped with 150 HP, a wider variety of Horsea and Seadra to utilize, and a bigger secondary attack to build into within a format that is not heavy on energy removal. For choice of Horsea, it's really just up to you and your playstyle. I think that for the mid to late game, Retaliate is the better attack to use genetic memory for, but then you're also risking a lower HP Horsea that can get sniped. Reverse Thrust is also a solid attack because Kingdra EX has a retreat cost of 3, and so this is going to give you another option for getting out of the active position and safely onto the bench. For Seadra, I think the clear option is the one from EX Dragon, as it gives you damage and evasion if you're looking to only deal 20 damage, or you can just deal a flat 40. Both options are solid for 1 water energy. As for Kingdra EX's secondary attack, it's not going to come up that often, though you do have the option to deal 50 damage for 3, 70 damage for 4, or 90 damage for 5. It's decent value on the damage that you're getting, but this is more of a very late game, last resort kind of attack when you just need some fast KOs and you have the energy to do it. If you're already familiar with Kingdra Center as an archetype, you pretty much know what the rest of the deck list is going to be, but if not, let's go ahead and jump into it. For this build, I have chosen to go with the Dragon Horsea, the one with Retaliate, because late game, this can potentially be a huge attack. You do have to flip a coin for it, but if you hit heads, you do get to deal 10 damage for each damage counter on you. So if Kingdra EX is sitting with 13 damage counters on it, you get to deal 130 damage. On top of that, I also have 4 copies of the Seadra we talked about before that has both agility and waterfall. Most of the game, you're just going to be hitting those 40 damage waterfalls over and over and over again, but if your opponent's active is left with only 20 HP, it just makes more sense to use agility and potentially get that evasion next turn. You will sometimes find yourself just wanting to stall from turn to turn as well, just so you can build up something else on your bench. Agility is going to help with that as well. On the Kingdra side, I have 3 of the EXs on here that have genetic memory. That way, you can go back to your Horsea and Seadra attacks, use those 40 damage waterfalls over and over and over again for only 1 energy, and then either build up towards a bigger Hydro Cannon for a big KO in the late game, or save those water energy for benched Kingdras. On top of the EX, I also have 1 copy of Kingdra from Aquapolis. It has the Water Cyclone Poke Power. As often as you like during your turn, you can move a water energy from your active Pokemon to your bench Pokemon. This is going to be another way that you can have a Kingdra EX on your bench and continuously power it up so that by the time you get it into the active position, you're going to have a Hydro Cannon fully powered, ready to go, ready to start getting some more consistent knockouts turn after turn, because you're not having to discard any energy off of Kingdra EX. Once you have enough to deal 90 damage, you can just deal 90 damage turn after turn after turn until Kingdra EX is knocked out. It's just getting that many energy on there, and Aquapolis Kingdra is going to help you get there. When you're about to heal a Kingdra, you can actually move the 1 energy off to it onto the bench so that you're not wasting any. Because we're dealing with a lot of energy in this deck, I also have 2 copies of Skitty and 2 copies of Delcatty just to utilize energy draw. This deck isn't going as heavy on draw and search power, so we're going to be utilizing Delcatty for that, using energy draw to keep drawing into your deck, getting all of those pieces that you need. And you can deal enough damage with max energy source, swap it into the active position and go for it. Topping off the Pokemon list with Dunsparce, just an amazing starting Pokemon for the deck. Strike and Run is going to be able to go get you all of the pieces that you need to really get the game moving from there. On the trainer side, we have 3 copies of Oracle. Might as well, because we're running Delcatty. Delcatty and Oracle combo is going to be great in any deck. That way you're drawing the exact card you need every turn. Additional draw power is going to come from 3 copies of Professor Oak's Research, as well as 3 copies of Juggler. This deck is very energy heavy. You've probably already noticed the 18 water energy over here, but that's because all of the draw power in this deck is coming from discarding energy. Delcatty is going to discard energy for energy draw. Juggler is going to discard energy for some pretty strong draw power. This deck only needs 1 energy to get attacks going, so it can throw a few away just to give you some card advantage. And we do have 2 copies of Town Volunteers down here. That way you can recycle a lot of the energy that you're throwing away if you go that late into the game and you're really needing those water energy. But Town Volunteers is also a way to recycle some Pokemon if you really need to. I said earlier, if you're familiar with Kingdra Center deck builds, you're going to know what's in here. We got 4 copies of Pokemon Nurse. You only need 1 energy to attack, so there's not a whole lot of downside to discarding 1 energy in order to fully heal a Pokemon that has 150 HP. You're going to be tanking your way through a lot of these games. It may not seem like a lot to just deal 40 damage turn after turn after turn, but when you are stacking that damage on your opponent, they're not healing, but you are. That is where this deck really excels. On top of those 4 Pokemon Nurses, we also have 4 copies of Potion just to be even more annoying. You're going to be healing off damage left and right. You're going to be putting your opponent in a very difficult spot if they're not able to keep up with the amount of damage you're healing. You're also going to be switching between your active Kingdras and your benched Kingdras in order to keep them alive, protect them for longer, deprive your opponent of prizes. Warp Point is going to be very important for that cycle. So you're healing, you're moving, you're being evasive, you're attacking for only 1 energy while chucking a bunch of other energy cards to draw into more resources for you to use. It's a very streamlined deck, very easy to use, and as you can see from the build here, very easy to put together. This deck's power comes from its ability to consistently deal moderate damage every single turn for only 1 energy, which of course can be very scary to decks that are weak to water like Blaziken. Instead of the 40 damage, you're going to be taking 80 damage every single turn for 1 energy. The deck does struggle when it's up against decks that hit harder, faster. Remember, with this deck, you're probably going to be starting with Dunsparce. Your first turn's going to be Strike and Run, and there's no rare candy in this deck, so you're going to spend some turns evolving from Horsey to Seadra into Kingdra. During that time, you're also going to be setting up other Kingdras on your bench, spreading around your energy per turn so that all of them are ready to attack. So it does take a couple of turns of setup just to get to that point, to really get that snowball at the top of the mountain. Luckily, there aren't a ton of lightning or grass type decks in the 2004 format to really threaten Kingdra as it gets powered up, but there are still plenty of decks that can stack damage quickly. In those cases, your Horseys, your Seadras, your Delcattys, those become the focus of what your opponent's trying to knock out instead of the gargantuan HP on Kingdra EX. There aren't really any recommendations I can make for different cards to pair with Kingdra or different cards to slot in. It really just comes down to individual preferences in the trainer base or local metagame that would make you want to include things like ATM Rock. So that's the deck. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the build down in the comments. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel, also make sure to do all the YouTube things that help me out, like, subscribe, tell a friend. I appreciate you watching this far into the video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you at the next one. Bye.